Welcome to the NOSA Unleashed podcast, where we want to expose and remove the stigma surrounding mental health by discussing real-life challenges and obstacles that keep us paralyzed and fearful to move forward. Let us inspire you to believe there is more to life than what you are currently experiencing. Now is the time to end the silence and pursue the path to purpose and fulfillment. We will do this together because no one stands alone. Welcome back to the NOSA Unleashed podcast. I'm Laura Burgoyne, and I am joined here today again with my friend and brother-in-law, Walter Blackwood. Also has joined us in our No One Stands Alone Foundation organization, and he actually plays a very vital role as a mentor and also our programs developer. And I am so excited to share with you guys this new program that he has created, and we're actually going to be launching it in September. It'll be launching September 17th. It's a Wednesday night. It's an 8-week long program called Calm in the Storm. And if you haven't yet checked out our previous podcast, I encourage you to go back and listen to that one, because we really laid down the foundation about, what is anger, what is healthy anger, what's unhealthy anger, how do we manage it, and why is this even important? And, that will help lay the foundation for what we want to talk about today, which is, what are some strategies? What are some techniques that we can use to really de-escalate our anger, to bring that unhealthy anger into something more of what we would call healthy anger? So welcome, Walter, to the conversation.
Laura, thank you again for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, like I said last time at the close, like I am looking forward to this launching in September. I recognize even within myself that, there are areas in my life. I've worked a lot on anger. I've worked, I have my own counselors and people that I work with for my own personal issues. And I've worked a lot on this, and I know that I've grown a lot, but even looking through your program, I was like, ooh, yeah, I need to learn a little bit more about this. So I'm really looking forward to it. But today, let's just talk, because your program is so in depth, and you go into so many different things.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could literally be here and talk for weeks about this. But let's just focus in on, what are some of those calming strategies? Maybe list off a few of them that you have in your program, and then we can kind of break them down from there.
Okay. So first of all, uh, this is something that everybody needs.
Yeah,
And I'm not just saying that as, I want everybody to sign up. I
right.
do, but that's not why I say it. Anybody who has kids needs
Mm-hmm.
anger management. Anybody who's married needs anger. If you've been in traffic, you need anger management, right? If you wake up in the morning, you probably need anger management.
Mm,
It's just how, especially in the stressful world that we live in,
right.
we need a way to process it
Mm-hmm.
safely.
Right.
And that's safely to us, not just to other people, right?
Right.
Some people are completely nonviolent and they're like, well, my anger, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to hurt anybody. You're hurting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're a person. You're an important person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of the big ways of dealing and de-escalating is
Okay.
identifying the triggers and the emotions that go along with it. And I use an ABCD model for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D. That's sort of
Right.
like when last week we were talking about neuroplasticity and how A event leads to B reaction. This breaks it down a little bit more.
Right.
A is an event
Mm-hmm.
because anger is a response to trauma. The event might be somebody cuts you off in traffic, or the coffee you got was like you ordered at Starbucks was full fat and yes for non-fat. I don't know. I don't. I drink Tim Hortons, but
Yeah.
right, it could be anything. But the A is the event. B is the thought, the interpretation, the assumption, or the appraisal of the event.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be factual.
Right.
but it is an interpretation of the event. And
Hmm.
what I mean by it doesn't have to be factual is if somebody steps on my foot in line, I might interpret that as an attack. Like that jerk, he saw me.
Right.
It's not like, that could be an accident. So I'm interpreting it as an attack,
Right.
right? That leads to C, which is an emotion. In this case, we're talking about anger is the emotion. But
Hmm.
really, you can use this when you're talking about any sort of emotional event.
Hmm.
A, my cat got sick. B, I became, I took him to the vet and, I was trying to think about it. And C, I got sad because something might happen, right? But in terms of anger, that's when we get to D, which is dispute. Dispute the unrealistic beliefs or unrealistic expectations of the event. One of my personal big triggers of anger is when I feel dismissed,
Hmm.
right? So, A event, I'm having a conversation with somebody, they offhand just completely disregard what I said. I'm not saying they have to do what I say or even accept what I say as fact,
Hmm.
but at least acknowledge that I have a valid opinion
Right.
in this. So when I feel disregarded, it leads to, it used to lead to an automatic assumption that they felt I was of low value. It assaulted my personal self assertion,
Yeah.
right? Who I was, my self esteem.
Hmm.
And that led to an emotion of anger. I immediately, that was an assault. That's a trauma. I'm now getting mad. And so I would start to try and force my opinion on them and argue with them, even though like they have no idea this is going on,
Right.
right? They're like, okay, he said that thing. Sure, he said that thing. Okay, whatever. Now he's mad at me. What's going on? Right?
Hmm.
By recognizing, by looking at and identifying my anger triggers, I now can look at it. A event happens. I'm like, hmm, maybe they just don't, maybe my opinion wasn't what they were looking for. Okay, I'm a big boy. I can handle that. If I still think my opinion is important, I might, press because, I see they're doing it wrong. I'm a guy. I fix things. It's sort of what I do, right?
Hmm.
Um, but that's taken me a long time to identify.
Right.
By taking that ABCD model and looking at points where you've been angry, this only works if you're trying to actually identify,
Hmm.
right? If you actually care about dealing with your unhealthy anger, you have to actually do the homework. You need to
Hmm.
sit down and look, okay, I keep getting into arguments with that guy.
Yeah.
Why do I keep getting into arguments with him? Why am I always angry at him?
Yeah.
Let's start breaking down what is actually he saying that's getting me mad.
Hmm.
And is this a healthy or an unhealthy anger?
Yeah.
Am I responding with equivalent amount, with the appropriate reaction?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, then that's an unhealthy anger. So now we've got to go and break down ABCD. If it
Right.
is a healthy anger, boundaries need to be set.
Hmm.
Right? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, as you were talking, I had a few memories popping through my head. I could have used that tool as a teenager. I'm going to just share a story that came to mind, and maybe it's relevant and maybe it's not, but as you were talking, I was just like, whoa. But I actually in school was bullied a lot.
Mm,
And in my junior high years, it had really, created in me a deep-seated anger towards all people. And it was actually between the year of grade 6 to grade 7, I had this revelation that if I became the bully, then no one could
Oh,
bully me. And so when I entered grade seven, I was a bully. Everyone was terrified of me, and I had so much pent up anger in me. And this one day, I wanted a pop. And the janitor was at the pop machine, and the pop machine was open because he was like either filling it or fixing it or something. And so I came to the machine, and he's like, "What do you want?" And I said, "I like a pop." And then he said, "Okay, what kind of pop?" I said, "I want a Coke." And then he said, "Okay, do you want Diet Coke or not Diet Coke?" I said, "Not Diet Coke." And then he says, "Do you want it cold or hot?" I said, "Cold." And then he said, "Do you want it on ice or no ice?" I said, "No ice." And then he says, "Do you want it in a cup or a can?" And I said, "A can." And at that point, I was so mad that literally I went and I slapped him across the face. And in that
oh, wow.
moment, yeah, as a grade seven child, I slapped him across the face. And in that moment, I realized what I had done. And I instantly was like, "I'm so sorry. Don't tell the principal or whatnot," right? But like that was the picture that came to me, like as you were talking about all of those, the event, the the reaction, the emotion, and then the result, right?
Dispute. Yeah.
And it was just like that was such a vivid picture in my mind of what you were
Oh, wow.
describing.
Well, with teenagers, that's a different animal entirely because you've got all those hormones racing
Hmm.
around, and that actually brings to mind something else that's actually rather important. I didn't realize this until, about 10 years ago.
Mm.
And keep in mind, I started writing this program about 15 years ago.
Right.
Um, so boys and girls are different.
Hmm. Okay.
Also, what aggression looks like between boys and girls, men and women,
Okay.
children, adults, it's the same. Um, as a woman, or in that case, a teenager, reacting physically aggressive is a bit of an outlier,
Hmm.
right? It took a significant amount of um, background buildup to get that
Yeah.
reaction. I took leadership of an after school care,
Mm.
40 kids, kindergarten to grade five. It definitely teaches you patience and anger management skills.
Yeah. For sure.
But one thing that I learned that was really wild is boys and girls express aggression differently.
Mm.
Boys, you'd have three or four boys, close friends, one of them does something really off color or whatever, and they get into a physical fight
Right.
and they beat each other around a little bit. You separate them, apologize to each other, blah, 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 blah. As a teacher, I'd go in and break them apart and you say sorry to the other. And yeah, right.
Right.
Next day, they're all playing together like it never happened,
Right.
right? The aggression was out.
Right.
Girls are vicious. I'm sorry, they won't lift a finger, but they'll flatten a room.
Mm.
And, you know, correct me if I'm wrong here. You are a woman and I am a man. But when
Yeah.
I saw girls and one of them was on the outs, the vicious wordplay, the social assault
Mm.
on her would be devastating. And it would go on for weeks
Yeah.
and sometimes never recover. Friendships never recover from it sometimes.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me that a woman dealing with anger issues expresses her aggression more by what she says
Hmm.
and what she withholds.
Right.
And a man expresses his anger physically.
Mm.
Might not be through striking the other person,
Yeah.
but yelling is a form of physical aggression,
Mm.
right? Only 10% of what we say is the words we use. The rest is body language, inflection, tone, volume, all of these things. It's why I hate texting, because texting is 10% of a conversation. Even with emojis, maybe get 15%,
Right.
right? And I was when talking about communication with Connie, in the podcast about relationships, I used the sentence, I didn't say we should kill them.
Hmm.
And if you put emphasis on each individual word, the sentence means something different.
Right.
I didn't say we should kill them. I
Hmm.
didn't say we should kill them. I didn't say we should kill them, right? On and on.
Right.
Um, Men react, getting back on topic, physically with their aggression. I told you I ramble. Um, and women do it verbally or
Mhm.
through withholding, right?
Right.
And it's something to keep in mind. And when we're going through that ABCD, that is something to keep in mind,
Hmm.
right? And there's outliers. I have said some vicious things in the past
Yeah.
and did it out of anger. And then it's really hard to take that back.
Right.
It's just as hard to take back something horrible that you said in the moment of anger as it is to unslap somebody,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and for me too, as a child, adding to the whole recipe of, the bullying, the anger, all of those things, like I also had seen modeled for me through my dad, through his aggression, through his anger, through how he dealt with it, was with a lot of physical violence, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
when I think of that, because I see that playing out in my life, because even at that same time in my life, and I didn't even know this person, and I don't know why I'm sharing this on a live broadcast, but whatever. This is all about real life vulnerability and truth. But at that
Full
same time in my,
transparency. Here we go.
here we go. In that same time of my life, you know, people had a perception of me, don't cross her. And that was what I wanted them to have the perception of because I had been so deeply wounded for so many years. And people knew that I would get the job done. And so this one day, this kid came to me. They said, Laura, can you do something about this kid? He's bugging me. I didn't bother to say, what did they do? How are they bugging you? Like, I got zero information. I said, who is this kid? They pointed to him. I literally went over there and I was wearing steel toed boots and I canned the kid. And when I did,
Oh,
he actually physically lifted off the ground, fell to the
mm,
ground, and he was laying there forever until his parents came and picked him up. And, it wasn't until much later that I realized what the brevity of what I had done. Um, but that was how deeply seated all of that rage and all of that anger and all of that unjust, and, so, like you said, I was probably an outlier at that stage in my life. Now, as an adult, I more relate to what you're saying about how women, will often respond with withholding, with what they're not actually saying, with with their words, right? And
yeah.
that is more how it's playing out in my life now. But as a youth, it was playing out more in the whole physical aggression. But I
Mm.
think a lot of that had to do with what was being modeled for me, what was, you know, that was just what I knew at that time, right? And
Yeah, we model what we know,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
still think about that kid and I keep praying, Lord, restore his ability to have children. I like, yeah,
Oh,
it
I'm
was,
telling you, I'm still hurting from the description of that. I'm sorry.
I'm,
As a guy, that's
I,
just wrong.
I know, I'm so sorry, but when
Oh,
people who know me today, they're like, as if Laura, there's no way you were ever
I
that
was thinking that. Yeah. It's like I look at you, I'm like, this kind, sweet, gentle soul of Laura did that. I mean, I can't even think of a way to describe it. Like it was just wow. Um, but we are the product, like we go into this a lot in the program talking about the roots of our anger.
right.
Where does it come from? And we express our anger in the ways that we've had modeled for us,
Yeah.
right? In our early relationship with me and Connie, she would accuse me a lot of yelling at her.
Mm,
And I'd be like, are you talking about? I haven't raised my voice once. What are you talking about? I'm not yelling at you. And Connie, Connie has her own traumas, and
Mhm.
having me yell at her is a trigger for her, like an
Yeah,
emotional shutdown trigger. And so it was a big problem. And we were trying to rectify it, but I didn't understand what she was talking about yelling because I would never raise my voice.
right.
And then when my stepfather passed away in BC, and Connie and I had to go and help her, when we first went to visit her right after it happened, we're sitting there in her house with her, and she's on the phone with Telus, and she was mad at them
You're talking
because,
about your mom now?
yeah, sorry, my mom was on the phone
Okay.
with Telus.
Okay.
Thank you. My mother was the one on the phone, not Connie. My mother was on the phone with Telus because they had just bought two cell phones just before he passed away.
Right.
And so she wanted to have them canceled because
Right.
she didn't need two cell phones, right? But they were like, nope, you've got to pay out the whole contract.
Right.
That's just the way we work. And so she was trying to convince them. That's the whole backstory to all of this. And she's talking to this guy on the other line like this. And she was a small Cape Breton woman. So she'd be talking like this on the phone. And the hairs on the back of my arms were going straight up.
Hmm.
And I just grabbed Connie's arm and I'm like, I am so glad I'm not the one on the other end of that phone. And she looked at me and she goes, that's the voice you use with
Mm.
me.
Wow.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I just like I was gobsmacked. I didn't even realize
Yeah.
that I was doing it. I was a bit of an outlier as well in that I wouldn't get physically violent a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I was raised to never strike a woman. To this day, even after 13 years of security and investigations, I never have laid hands on a woman.
Right.
And so I would take a feminine response to anger and aggression.
Right.
Not saying I was not masculine, but I
Yeah.
would withhold and I would use my words instead of my fists
Hmm.
because otherwise I would be in a coffin because my mother would kill me, right?
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, I see what you mean about outliers. And all of this is generalization anyway,
Of course.
because it can flow back and forth. It's the same as when I was talking last episode about how different levels of anger uh, are appropriate for different people, right?
Right. Hmm.
It's the same as everything else. We're all different, all made in the image of God, but all different in and of ourselves.
Yeah. And I think that's where the piece about, being aware, acknowledging and, assessing is important, right? Because we can't necessarily gauge it on, you know, a spectrum. It has to be individual for us, for what's, what our experience has been, what we've been exposed to. Like all of those things play into the equation about, what is healthy anger for me and how do I display that anger in a healthy
Yeah.
way and what do I do about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of the things I love about NOSA is mentorship. Like, okay, nobody is an island.
Hmm.
And I can't look at myself objectively
Right.
and see all of my problems.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I love that story about yelling, right? I
Hmm.
didn't know I was yelling.
Yeah.
Quiet yelling is what we call it now, right? And so I didn't know I was quiet yelling.
Hmm.
I needed somebody else to show me that I was
Yeah.
quiet yelling.
Right.
And that's one of the things I love about mentorship through NOSA is that we develop a relationship with our mentees. That and through that relationship, through that accountability, we can identify something that they may not be aware of,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And through that objective lens, we can uh, go find those events and find those reactions to those events,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm. So awesome. So I know we can't go through all of the techniques of calming, but maybe share with us one more technique
Sure.
that you share in your program.
Um, Another big one is relaxing through the senses.
Okay.
This is the reason for this is, and I'll be really quick about it. When we talk about neuroplasticity in the second lesson of the program, we also talk about different parts of the brain and how anger affects your brain.
Right.
And the two big parts when we're dealing with anger are the limbic system, which is back here with the amygdala and all that here, and the neocortex, which is the frontal lobe here.
Hmm.
And this controls rational thought. When you're thinking up rational thought, this is what lights up. When you're feeling things, it's back here.
Yeah.
And when your body temperature and your heart rate go up, like when you're in a trauma response, this gets less blood flow and this gets a lot of it. That's the flight or fight reflex.
Yeah.
It's actually fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, but won't get into that. Right. And so what you need to do in order to calm down, because if this isn't getting a whole lot of blood flow and this is getting a lot, it means that you're not capable of making rational thought. You
Yeah.
can't make rational decisions. This is when in an argument you're saying, you always or you never, even though you know full well they don't always and they don't never, right?
Yeah.
So in order to bring down your body temperature and bring down your heart rate, first you need a little bit of distance.
Hmm.
And through relaxing through the senses, we go through your different senses and finding things to almost distract yourself and calm yourself down. When
Okay.
dealing with children with autism, we do this a lot. And it's
Hmm.
like, name 5 things you can see, name 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, right? And so by doing that, it actually calms you down and allows you to get back to that rational thought.
Hmm.
It's like, for sight, look at photos, enjoy nature, surround yourself with color. Colors have a big deal to do with your emotions.
Yeah.
So, surrounding yourself with color, sound, listening to wind chimes, uplifting music is a big one. Do you know that anxiety and stress use the same part of the brain as excitement?
Yeah. I actually knew that.
Yeah. So, if you're feeling a lot of anxiety, stress, or anger, trauma response, getting excited about something, listening to some like real pumping music will actually shift it and trick your brain into calming down.
Right.
Scents, smells, aromatherapy, essential oils, these things will help change your emotional state. They'll help bring down your body temperature. Some peppermint, I think it is, on
Peppermint.
the
Yeah.
back of the neck. I'm
Yeah.
still learning this stuff.
Yeah.
uh, Brings down your body temperature just like that.
Hmm.
Touch, a hot bath, soft clothing, touch therapy with a pet.
Yeah.
Trust me, I pick up Zoe, one of my black cats, and I snuggle her, and my heart rate goes right down,
Right.
right? Taste, um, chewing gum gets that motion and gets some of that energy out through chewing. Um, Enjoying a fresh cold drink or sipping a warm drink.
Yeah.
These temperature changes will help bring your heart rate down.
Hmm.
And finally, movement, stretch, dance around, run in place, go for a walk, squeeze a stress ball. That's why those stress balls worked so well, is because it was doing movement.
Right.
It was actually a sensory thing.
Hmm.
And you'd think overloading on sensory would bring like more agitation, but we've learned through those who have emotional disorders that make it difficult for regulating your emotions, like autism, uh, sensory boxes where the kids would put their hands in these boxes that have all these different textures and feels would help them refocus their emotions and
Right.
regulate. So this is something that we go through a lot in actually lesson 4
Yeah.
of Calm in the Storm, talking about relaxing through the senses and ways to bring down our body temperatures and our heart rates.
And so, scientifically speaking, what's happening is as you're engaging with your senses, it's bringing your focus away from the limbic system to your prefrontal cortex so you can start thinking more rationally
It's
and
forcing
process,
your prefrontal cortex to start working. Yeah.
yeah, and process the events that are actually happening or, move through them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All of this is backed by science. It's not like
Yeah,
this is all like it it's so wild that we were created in such a complex but simple way,
yeah.
right?
I know every time I think about how we were created and the body, and the more I learn, I just am in awe of the intelligence of God.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's amazing.
Well, I know we could talk about this for a long time, but I want to just finish today by, maybe just briefly go through the 8 weeks of the program and just tell us, what each week, maybe the title and maybe just what
A
we'll
quick sentence about
yeah,
each.
what we'll be focusing on each one of those weeks, just to give someone an idea of what's in the program and what they could be looking forward to if they were to
Sure.
join that.
Well, the first week is an introduction. We go through, there's rules to this, confidentiality, because we talk about a lot of personal stuff. Even just
Yes.
through these brief conversations, we've touched on a lot of personal things.
Yes, that's true.
So through that, and also anger in the heart and what it does to us.
Hmm.
Second week is anger in the brain, delves into how the brain works, where anger fits into that brain structure of ours. The third part is on shame and shadows. Shame in shadows. It's the role of shame and anger and how development of shadows can affect your mental health. Shadows is a psychological term talking about how we repress parts of our personality for social aspects.
Right.
Four is calming techniques. We talked a lot about that today. Some of the calming techniques we go through there. Part five is dysfunctional thinking. That's confronting and restructuring dysfunctional thoughts
Hmm.
because we get some weird ideas in our head and then we can't seem to get rid of them, right?
Hmm.
Part six is judgment and empathy. We all judge, even though we try not to, and we don't show as much empathy as we should, in all honesty.
Hmm.
Part seven is assertive communication, not aggressive, but assertive communication. And I think the misidentifying between the two is part of the problem that we have when dealing with unhealthy anger.
Hmm.
And finally, we deal with on we part eight is conflict resolution and forgiveness, forgiving others, forgiving ourselves, and how to resolve conflict without escalating.
Hmm.
De-escalation is the key word in that.
Hmm.
So that's all 8 weeks of it in a nutshell.
That's awesome. Well, I am looking forward to it, and I encourage anyone who's listening to this, if you resonated with anything we were talking about, really consider joining in with us come September. We will be starting this program Wednesday nights running on Zoom, so you can do it from the comfort of your home. And it runs from 7 to 9 p.m. It's an 8 week long program. And you can find more information on our website at nosafoundation.com. And you can also register there as well. So, once again, Walter, thank you for joining me and sharing all of your knowledge and experience and letting me be vulnerable and share my really bad history.
I'll just make sure to note what footwear you're wearing before we get into an argument.
Okay, okay. All right. Until next time, everyone, be blessed and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you very much.